Hey everyone, this is Coloring Chemist. My name is Connie, and welcome back to my channel. I know I've been missing, and I apologize for that. I think it's been about 3 weeks since I posted a video. I was thinking about reasons for that. I think there's a couple reasons, but in terms of just making videos, I wasn't feeling it. And I always said to myself when I started this channel, if I wasn't feeling it, I wasn't going to push myself to make videos. Just because then, I don't know, I think you end up not liking doing it. And I didn't want that to happen. October is also a very busy month for me. For those of you that don't know, I'm a chemistry teacher, and so, the fall time, although October isn't as busy as, say August, September, or May when my courses end, but I also had a lot of sort of vegetable garden kind of produce that I had to process and freeze and what have you for the winter. So that's been an October thing. Canadian Thanksgiving. I'm Canadian, for those of you that don't know. I live here in central Canada. Canadian Thanksgiving is in October as well. It's not in November. So, there's that in October. And truthfully, where I live, October is it's my most favorite month by far. By far. September is pretty, but October is just, that's when the leaves are truly turned and the temperatures are down. The biting bugs, the mosquitoes, the no-see-ums, the deer flies, the horse flies, all of those things that we battle with here in rural central Canada where I live in the summertime have died and gone back to HE double hockey sticks where they belong. And so, you can get outside and it's just, I love the cooler temperatures. I do not like heat. So I've been trying to spend as much time as I can outside on my nature trails too. So yeah, it's just, filming took a back seat to all of that, I guess. So I do apologize for just kind of disappearing there for a bit. I have been coloring though, and I think I will try and put out a completed pages video for October. I have a few kind of cool things that I bought in October, so I might have a haul video as well, but it certainly won't be as large as the haul videos that I've had the previous months. I don't know, for those of you that have been watching my channel for a while, you might remember it was a rough summer. I think I mentioned that maybe once or twice. We just sort of had a lot of things go on, and I did some buying of art things, coloring things to, I guess it was stress relief. Things are going better now, and I can tell that because my buying has gone down. But yeah, so there should be a couple upcoming videos on haul and completed pages. Anyway, sorry, I feel like I've forgotten how to do this. I did want to make this video though, because this technique that I've discovered has been a game changer for me. And I wanted to share it in case it turns out to be a game changer for anyone else as well. Little backstory. I have trigger finger in my right hand. You can see when I make a fist. This finger, I can force it to bend all the way, then it will lock, and it hurts. Then I actually have to take this hand and unlock it, and that really hurts. So I try not to do that. And I know a few of you lovely viewers have suggested things like compression gloves, and I'm looking into that. But I am 52. And I also, when I was younger, was a piano player. I took lots and lots of years of piano. And I don't know whether it was the way I played. I'm not sure what it was, but I did do some kind of damage to the tendon in my elbow here. I think it's similar to like tennis elbow. It's a repetitive strain injury. And I don't play as much anymore, but every so often it does bother me. Future editing Connie here. I'm so sorry. I keep saying in this video. I don't know why I'm saying it so much. I think it's been so long since I recorded a video I've forgotten how to speak without saying all the time. So I am very sorry for that. I also thought you guys might like to hear a little clip of me playing the piano. I'm not a professional by any stretch of the imagination, but this little clip, the last time I played publicly, it was at a local festival. It was just kind of a, there's the again, I'm sorry for that. It was a chance for me to play a piece that I played years and years and years ago when I won an award at this festival, and it was fun to do. So if you want to skip ahead, I'll put some timestamps below. You don't have to listen to this. Just thought you might like to hear it. I do a lot of writing as a teacher. That could be part of this as well. And I've noticed lately that my right shoulder has been bothering me. So all of that basically comes down to I was never a really prolific pencil colorer, right? I didn't tend to use pencils, on a whole page. A lot of that was it's not my favorite medium to use, and it hurt. It would make my hand sore. It would start to make my shoulder sore, my elbow. And so I just had been, moving away from that. And for those of you who've watched my channel for a while, you'll know that my favorite, hands down, coloring supply are these pigment pens. And I have a full set of the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Brush pens. And I have the full 60 set of the Stettler pigment brush pens. And I use them together interchangeably. They're not quite the same, but they're close. But with the two different sets, I've got 160 almost unique colors. There are certainly a few, I would say, say for example, this olive green in the Stettler is pretty close to the chromium green opaque 174 in the Pitt pens, but not quite. And because of the way that I color, I can use those slight differences to create, if I'm doing shading or just sort of color blending. So, 120-ish colors is fantastic. So I love using these to color. They don't hurt my hand because, you don't have to have they're a lot faster, number one. I tend to be a very heavy-handed pencil colorist, and I know that's part of my problem too. But I like that burnished look, so then you're pushing harder, and it's just really hard in my hands. So I've been, leaning more and more towards coloring with these. And all of that is great. If any of you are, been coloring for a while or just started coloring, but if you have any hand or shoulder or elbow issues or anything like that, I think certainly moving more towards markers, and I know a lot of people do, or you can base things with markers and then just do a bit of shading on top with pencil, right? That's the thing as well. But I love using these sort of exclusively and doing all my shading, all my highlights, everything with these. Now, there's a learning curve to that, and I do have a number of, maybe not a number, some videos on my channel where I talk about using these for coloring. And I know people have requested that I do more color alongs with these. I will. Like I say, I just haven't been feeling... I've been enjoying my coloring, but I haven't wanted to talk while I was coloring. And so that's, why I hadn't put any videos out or done any color alongs or anything. But I will try. But the main drawback for me is that not all papers play nicely with these markers. Not all papers play nicely with markers in general, right? And you've got your two main ink types when it comes to markers. You've got alcohol-based inks and you've got water-based inks, right? Alcohol-based inks, of course, are your Ohuhus or your Copics, those sorts of things. I don't tend to use those a lot. Many of the books I color in are double-sided, and so unless you're going to put a fairly thick layer down of, say, Satin Glazing Liquid or something like that. If you do that, you can stop the alcohol ink from bleeding through. But it just was, something I wasn't really sort of doing a lot of. I do enjoy water-based inks, though. Now, you have water-based inks like Tombows, or just gonna grab some here. You've got Faber-Castell, the Gold Faber Aqua Duo markers. You've got the Lyra Aqua Brush Duo, Tombows, right? These are all Tombow-like markers. These are slightly different. These are also water-based inks, but they're pigment-based. They're not dye-based. So the colorants the solvent, the carrier for these two types of markers is the same, water-based, probably some glycerin in there as well. But the colorant is different. The colorant for these kinds of markers and Tombows, those sorts of things, are dyes. The colorant in these markers are pigments. And that actually does make a difference. I find that the ink from these markers stays on the surface of the page just a little bit longer than these markers. The ink tends to sort of soak in. It gets sort of trapped in those paper fibers very quickly. You really can't move these inks very well on paper, unless you've got watercolor paper which has a coating on it, right? Sizing, then you can. These, though, with a lot of papers that aren't sized, just are typical coloring book papers, you can get the ink to move, which is how I'm able to color with these and blend them on paper, move them, get shadows and highlights, etc. But not all papers. So not all papers play nicely with these. And what I would do is I would either avoid those books or I would just struggle, right? Struggle in my coloring. And hang on one sec, I'm just going to grab a book just to show you what I mean by struggle. All right. I have a whip in Kirby Roseanne, Kalanamorphia. And it's been a whip for a number of months now because the inks are struggling on here. The pigment inks, the pigment pens, I'm really struggling with having them blend properly, etc. on this paper. And I don't know, I can try and zoom in. I don't know if it'll show up or not. Particularly on the gold. So I was trying to go for like an antique gold look here. I can feel where, and you can see the blend isn't great. And you probably can't see it, but I can feel it. It's actually started, I've had to scrub at the page with the markers to even get any blending. And what that's done is it started to peel up the paper. So I can feel, I don't know if you can hear that or not, particularly. It feels rough versus out here where I've not done any blending yet. I don't know if you can hear that versus. Anyway, sorry, I have the window open so you can probably hear the wind outside too. But because I was struggling with blending, I just left it, right? I just thought I don't want to deal with this. Yeah, which is too bad. Kirby's books are great and so many people color in them. But because my preferred way of coloring is using these pigment pens, and it was struggling so much on this paper, I just am not... This is actually, I think, the first Kirby page... Well, no, that's not true. There was a page in Alien Worlds that I had started with ink tints, but I didn't go back to that either. This is the first page, I think, that I've started with these pigment pens, and just... excuse me, not enjoying it. Sorry, I had to pause again. Tickle in my throat. So yeah, just not enjoying it. And Then I was coloring in this book, which I love. This is, I don't know that it's available anymore, so if anyone wants me to try and find a link for it, I can, but I had bought this from Amazon Germany, even though it's a Dutch book. Amazon Netherlands won't let me ship to Canada. I've tried. I've looked at it and it just won't. But Amazon Germany will let me ship to Canada. So I had bought this from Amazon Germany, and I had started doing the cover page here. Well, the title page, I should say. And again, I don't know if you can hear that. It's like peeling up the paper, which is funny because this feels really smooth. It feels like really smooth paper. And I thought for sure that these pigment pens, because they typically do work well or better on smooth paper, but there's something about this paper that just was not liking these pens. So this was where I thought, well, no, to backtrack a little more, hang on, I'm going to grab another book. All right, had to find it. To backtrack a little bit more, I did a page in Daydreams by Hannah Carlson. So this is one of her older books. I'm thinking 2016. This is the English version. It's Gibb Smith is the publisher. And I usually tend to try the pigment pens. I don't know if you can see the little green leaves here that I colored. In any book that I've not colored in before, I give them a little try, whether it be on the title page, somewhere in the book, just to see how they work. And they were working okay on this paper. So this was a page that I did. I did the background on camera because I was, I don't know, feeling very brave. This is an oil pastel background. And I was trying to make it look like that gold veined, like blue marble, which I don't know that it actually turned out to look like. But a lot of people said it looks very cool, like maybe the bird is flying over the ocean and this is lightning. I don't know. It just did turn out very cool. So I did the oil pastel background, but then oil pastels being, what they are, I knew that if I didn't want to make a complete and total mess, I needed to fix the background before I colored the image. Now, there's a lot of different ways to fix. Well, not a lot, some. You can paint, I know a lot of folks will paint, say, like the Mod Podge over top, the extreme glitter, or they make like I just found this actually. They make like a super matte Mod Podge. So this is just a water-based glue sealer, right? The Mod Podge with like the yellow, I think is matte. This is super matte. Now I haven't tried this yet, but it should, not give a shine. So you can paint something like this on top to fix it. I know a lot of folks like to use Satin Glazing Liquid, both to prep their pages for, say, using water-based, like watercolor paints or that sort of thing. But you can just put this on, and then that will sort of seal things down as well. There are also sprays. And I know a lot of folks are not fond of the sprays, and I get it. They're smelly, and unless you have a place where you can go outside and use the sprays, I don't know that I would use them extensively indoors. It does say, it says right on, I'll show you here example. This is a workable fixative by Krylon. You can get final fixatives. You can get fixatives, not necessarily by Krylon. Winsor Newton makes fixatives. You can get fixatives that are specific for different mediums, like pastel, oil pastel, right? Trying to think. Schminke makes some fixatives as well. It does say specifically, extreme danger. They're very flammable. They are a poison. They can be an irritant. Probably the biggest thing is explosion and fire. But they do smell. And if you don't use them in a well-ventilated area, that's going to give you some lung irritation. Now, I don't think people need to be as afraid of them as they are, but this is coming from a chemist. I don't know. I don't tend to have a fear of chemicals. I have a healthy respect for them, but not a fear of them. I research them, I look at what's in them, I follow the safety precautions, and I don't worry about it. So I happen to have this. So this is what I used to fix this. And the reason I used workable fixative is because I still had to color this bird, right? Final fixatives tend to have a very smooth finish. And then if you're going to try and do any, coloring or anything on top of that, it's very difficult. It would almost be like trying to color on really smooth plastic, right? Final fixatives aren't meant to be worked on top of. They're meant to fix the whole thing and that's it, you're done. Workable fixative, though, is a little bit different. And I did do, me being me, did do some research on this. So typically glossy sort of final fixatives, even to some extent the matte final fixatives, they're plastic based, right? That's most of them. There is a natural based one that comes in like a pump spray. Spectrafix? Is that what it's called? I think that's what it's called. And I think it's a casein based fixative. Casein is one of the proteins in milk. But I have heard people really struggle with that. It doesn't come out in a fine mist. It sort of comes out in little droplets, which then, makes droplet marks in your work. But most of these spray fixatives, these aerosol spray fixatives, they're going to be a type of plastic along with some solvents. And the smell that you're smelling, that's typically the solvents in here. And they're going to evaporate quite quickly once you spray it. So unless you're purposefully inhaling them, please don't. That smell is not really what you would need to concern yourself with. It's the fixative part that's actually in here. Now, in workable fixative, it is a type of plastic as well, but it's a type of plastic called cellulose nitrate. I won't go into why that's different. It is a little bit different. I don't know that I would want to be inhaling a lot of plasticizer into my lungs, but again, unless you're purposefully trying to inhale it or you're using it in a very small enclosed space, there's not a lot to worry about. But that's just me. Yeah, if you're using this sort of as directed, I think you're okay. So I had used this to fix the background. And then, of course, I went to color the image. And the whole thing here is colored with like a combination of Pitt pens and Stettler pens. There's a little bit of like the trim and all the wings and all the line work. I think that was a super golden marker. But the blending that I got when I was coloring was amazing. And suddenly something in my brain, sometimes it takes me a while to catch on to these things, it just clicked. And I thought, hey, wait a minute. By putting this down first, so I didn't put it down first. I did the background, then I fixed the background. But basically, this was all uncolored when I put this down. By putting the workable fixative down on just the raw paper and then coloring on top of it, it made coloring with these pens an absolute dream. So that sort of sat in my brain for a while because I did this picture a couple months ago, I think. Then we're back to here. So I was trying this a couple months ago, was not happy. The pens were really fighting me on this paper. So I think I talked about this a couple months ago as well. I think honestly, I forgot about the whole Daydreams, picture. And I thought, well, okay, the pens are fighting me in this paper, so I'm going to treat a page with the Satin Glazing Liquid. And I'm going to see if that helps. It should. Satin Glazing Liquid is a slow-drying extender for acrylic colors. It's actually meant for use with acrylic paints. It's meant to, when you're painting with acrylic paints, they can sometimes dry quickly on your canvas. And if they do, then you can't move them, right? You can't. So this is it just increases translucency and working time for blending and glazing acrylic paints. You can use it alone or blend with your acrylic paints. Useful for wet and wet blending. Acrylic is, it's a type of plastic. Acrylic paints are plastic. That's what they are, right? That's the binder in them is plastic. So by putting a coating of satin glazing liquid on a page, you're essentially putting a very thin coating of plastic. Really, that's what you're doing on the page, which is why it works so well for then being able to go on top with watercolors, or even if you make sure that you don't miss any spots, I could color on this with alcohol markers and they won't go through. That's pretty cool. So I did. I coated this page with satin glazing liquid, and then I started trying some coloring here. Now, the pens blended, but they almost blended too well. I was trying to, again, I'm going to see if I can, down here. I was trying to color again that antique gold kind of look on this little bead. And what gives it that antique gold look is you've got sort of this darker brown kind of shadow area, and then sort of a really light yellow, almost a straw yellow, sometimes even white part where the highlight is. But I was really struggling here for the opposite reason that I was struggling on the previous page. The inks they were blending too well, and I couldn't maintain the shadow and the highlight area, because every time I went to sort of get a blend between the two, it would just drag all of the darker color into the lighter area. So again, I abandoned this page because the inks were now blending too well. I know, it's the whole Goldilocks situation. So probably about a month ago, I suddenly remembered this scenario. And I thought, well, I don't have a background to fix, but what would happen if I just took the workable fixative and sprayed it on a blank page? I'm not fixing anything. I'm basically putting it down as a coating that's not quite as plasticky as this. I don't know if you can hear. Okay, so I'm gonna, again, I don't know if you can hear. Maybe I'm doing this for nothing. I don't know. Here's an untreated page, right? Oh wait, there's a car going by. We'll wait till the car's gone. So here's an untreated page. Pretty smooth. Here's a satin glazing liquid treated page. Can you hear that? It's quite a bit rougher. Here's a page treated with satin glazing liquid. It almost sounds like the untreated page. I can feel a little tiny difference between this page and the untreated page. There's a big difference between this page and this page. The satin glazing liquid, it does put down like a layer of plastic, basically, but it must have, I'm not sure what it has in it or if it just the way it dries, but it does give like a rough texture almost. Not a rough texture like gesso, right? Because that's another thing you can put down to treat pages. But gesso gives a really rough texture. And I don't like using these pens on top of that because it just kind of chews up the fine little nibs. And again, gesso, it allows me to blend too well, which is kind of what this satin glazing liquid was doing. It was allowing me to blend too well. So I'm like, I'm looking for a Goldilocks. I'm looking for something between this and no treatment, which, wasn't working. So I thought, well, I'm going to try workable fixative. So I sprayed this page, and yeah, it does give an odd, I'll even try and remember what were the colors I was using? Faber-Castell, what were the greens? Oh, I don't think I wrote down. Oh, yeah, I did write down the greens. 172, 174. So, and 507. So, these were the greens. It gives a strange texture. So, if you don't like this texture, again, this might not be a game changer for you. Can you see that? It's almost like speckly a little bit. So let's see what I can do on this leaf here. But what it did was it allowed me to put the ink down and blend a little bit. You see that? Again, it's not the same kind of smooth blend that you're going to get with pencils, but like I was saying at the beginning of the video, my hands and my shoulder just are not going to let me do. And you can go back over it, keep moving things. I always scribble my pens off and a piece of paper off to the side here, just when I'm done. But you have to be careful, it does stay wet a little bit longer. So maybe I will stick this page in there before I close the page. And I'm going to go back to this first page here and just sort of show you what I mean by struggling with the blending. Oh, line camera, not quite. There we go. I mean, it sort of did. But can you see the difference there between, I mean, there's quite a jump between the lightest color that I'm using here and the other two colors. But you can see it there, right? Whereas the page we were just coloring, sorry, get back in screen. I think there's a much less, maybe not, it doesn't on camera necessarily look that way, but I just feel like it just blends a little bit better. And so this was kind of an aha moment for me. I thought, well, books that I've been avoiding because, again, you know, I didn't want to use, pencil because it just hurt my hand, it hurt my shoulder, it just wasn't enjoyable. So what were the books that I was avoiding? It was typically Amazon printed books, right? There is no way, and I can show this, and I think if any of you have ever tried this, there's absolutely no way that you're gonna get blending of markers, even alcohol markers. I mean, you can try, but on Amazon print paper, it just doesn't. There's a leaf that I can do, and I'll do it. Yeah, we'll just choose one of these leaves here. So I'll put down my dark. I'll try and put a little, my dark and my mid-tone are almost the same here. But then with my light, I come and try and that's the best blend I can get. That is not a good blend. And because the Amazon paper is not pressed, right? It's rougher. It has all these, it's cheaper paper, which means it's got all these little paper fibers that are kind of sticking up and they act like little wicks. And they just grab that ink and suck it down and that's it. It's locked. It can't move. So all of these Amazon print books that I've been avoiding because I just didn't want to use pencil. And I know you can use things like acrylic, like the paint pens, right, with the thick acrylic paint. I could paint in them. I could do all those things. And I know a lot of you have also suggested in past, and you're absolutely right, I could scan the pages onto paper that I like and then color it. But there's something in my brain, I don't know. I am on the spectrum. that says no, it needs the pages need to stay in the book. I don't know why. It just so scanning just doesn't work for me because then the pages aren't in the book. I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. So I have these Amazon print books. They're on this Create Space paper, but I wasn't coloring in them because I couldn't use these. So then I had this brainwave and I thought, let's try pre-treating the page with, well, 2 pages. I'll pre-treat a page with the workable fixative, and I'll pre-treat a page with Satin Glazing Liquid, and we'll see what the difference is. So go to the Satin Glazing Liquid page first. Again, can you hear that? It's quite rough. Right? You can hear that? And I certainly can blend on here. In fact, let's do a bigger area, because I know I'm doing smaller areas here, and it's always, but I mean, you could see even on that small leaf, I could not blend. Like, you just can't. Let us do, let's do his hat. Turn it sideways. What shall we do for his hat? Let's do a brown hat. Take these 3. So I've got 2 Pitt pens and a Stettler pen. I've got Walnut Brown, which is my darkest, 177. Nougat, 178, that's my mid. And then Sand, which is one of the newer Stettler colors. That's going to be my lightest. So, well, let's treat a page with Satin Glazing Liquid. Let's see what kind of blend you can get here. So you'll see what I mean here by kind of, it's a Goldilocks thing. It's too much movement. So I'm going to put my dark on the outside of the hat here. And I'll take my mid, which was the Nougat. It's pulling quite a lot of that dark away from the edges. Now I'll take my Sand, which is the lightest. You know, that's not bad. But it is pulling like a fair amount of that darker color into the middle. So again, it's, you know, it was blending, sure, much better than it would have on untreated paper. But I thought, what if I can get a happy medium? So I treated another page with Satin Glazing Liquid. So let's see on this page. Sorry, I realize I'm still zoomed in here. Got brown in my hand. What could I do brown on here? Nothing. We've got bees and flowers. Okay, so I'm going to have to grab, give me 1 second here. Just putting the brown away. We've got a little honey pot down here. So I think let's do some of this little kerchief, this little fabric over the honey pot. Let's do that in, do like a warm gray. And I'm going to use 3 colors of Pitt pens here. So I've got warm gray 1, warm gray 3, and warm gray 4. I always take all the lids off, and then that way I just have them, they're just easier to blend. I'm going to leave the edging, maybe I'll do the edging like red. So I'm just putting the darkest color where I think there's going to be the deepest shadows. And then mid color. Kind of go back over that dark color. And then the light color. Again, going back over kind of everything. And I'm going to let that dry. It does look a little weird. It looks better once it's dry. But it gave me another option rather than either having an untreated page or a page treated with satin glazing liquid. This was like a happy medium. Now, I will say on Amazon paper, I'm almost actually liking the satin glazing liquid better. Maybe? I don't know. I'm going to wait till that dry to see. Wait till that's dry, sorry. But yeah, it was like this aha kind of moment for me where it was like, hey, wait a minute. I can spray workable fixative on these Amazon print pages and I can use these markers. I don't have to avoid these books because I don't want to use pencil. And I know I could use other things, but these really are my go-to way of coloring. I love coloring with these. And they just do not function well on untreated Create Space paper. They just don't. So I have been, playing around with things. Just kind of another thing I was doing during these 3 weeks I was gone. This has been kind of a test book for me. So this is Tatiana Bogomastolova's Nice Little Town Halloween. I also have a PDF version of this, which is why I wasn't so worried about, using it as a test book. So I've got a page in here. This is, and I don't know if you can see on the black background, you can see the spray where it kind of oversprayed a bit. So this is treated with the satin glazing liquid, or pardon me, the workable fixative. And I was just playing around with just a variety of things. I was actually playing around a bit with those tempera paint sticks. Still, you can't really blend them. You just can't. But this whole section of the pumpkin right here, that was all just Pitt pens and Stettler pens, sort of a combination of the two. And I'll bring you down. And it's you know what? That section, it's not a bad, right? Just that one right there. That's pretty good. This was, again, this was something else. And then I started just playing around with different pencils. I started playing around with some water-based markers. So that bluish purple right there, that's actually water. I think that's the Faber-Castell, the Goldfaber Dual Aqua. That's not a bad blend considering this is Amazon paper. This up here didn't blend quite so well. That might have been the Stettler pens, like these pigment pens, but in the Stettler range. They were having a bit more trouble. On either side of the door here, like that purple, this pinky over here, that's colored pencils. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember which ones. Sorry. But this purple stripe right there, that's right above my finger, and then this purple stripe here, those were both Pitt pens, which I think, blended fairly well. All of this greenery in here, that's Pitt pens of one kind or another. Sorry, as you can see here. Right, that's all just trying out blending. I think I even tried a little bit of alcohol marker. Yeah, I did. The bottom of the page here. Because oh, sorry, you can't see that. Oh my goodness, Connie. It's like I've totally forgotten how to do this. So you can see it bled through. So workable fixative will not stop alcohol marker from going through. It just won't. I think I did a little bit of blending over here, maybe with an alcohol marker. It didn't do badly. I think it was that one right there. But it is still going to go through. So then I did another page in here. Oh, this was an untreated page. You can see the difference there. Can you see? I was trying to blend. I was doing purples because purples are notoriously hard to blend, no matter what. Greens actually are a little bit easier to blend, so I was playing around with purples. So this is an untreated page. I mean, that's a pretty distinct line between that darker purple and the light purple. And that's the same blend combination that I was using, that same purple blend combination, as on these interior, those right, the purple stripes right next to the door on either side. So you can see that is a much better blend than that. And then I had another page back here. That's Satin Glazing Liquid. So, I mean, we can try some purples on here. What you'll see, I think, is, the lid's back of my grays here. You can certainly blend on this page. What was the purples I was using? I think it was these two. So Pitt pens, 136, and then 239. So it's purple, violet, and lilac. Let's make some of this mushroom here purple. I'll get movement, but it's almost, I think, too much movement. Can you see how it kind of, it's like taking, because that's what I typically do. I go back over the dark with the light so I can get a blend. But it's almost taking all of the dark ink away from where it was. So it's not leaving a very good, and then if I want to get some of the dark ink off my light pen, I can scribble it off to the side. Actually didn't work too badly. That's not a bad blend for water-based markers on Amazon paper. Again, that's Satin Glazing Liquid. The Satin Glazing Liquid, partly I think I was drawn to using the workable fixative because it's fast. It dries in minutes, seconds sometimes. Whereas if I'm going to pre-treat a page with Satin Glazing Liquid, you pre-treat it and you put it aside to dry, and then you have to wait, and it does kind of curl up the page a bit. This workable fixative doesn't curl up the page at all. It is stinky, like I say, just use it outside. But it just gives you kind of that in-between. You know, here we've got Satin Glazing Liquid. No treatment. You just simply can't blend those markers on untreated Amazon paper. And treated with workable fixative. It's okay. I kind of think I like that better. It leaves more of the dark where I initially put it, which I think is, you know, kind of a good thing. So yeah, I've just been playing around with, you know, what can I do with this workable fixative in terms of pre-treating pages. And just trying to, I've basically, because this time of year, you're getting a sneak peek. This is one of my finished pages for fall, for October, I should say. This time of year, I can actually still get out into my garage, and I can go out and I can pre-treat a whole bunch of pages with the workable fixative, whereas once it gets into winter, it's going to be too cold to work with that outside. So I was going through and I was pre-spraying tons of different pages. But I was able to get a really nice blend with these markers on Rita Berman paper. And Rita Berman paper is typically paper that in the past, I'm trying to think if there's a page in here, I've struggled with a bit in terms of trying to blend the pens on her paper. It's smooth, but again, it's got a little bit of that fight to it that I was finding with this. I would have to kind of scrub it a blend, and it would start to take the paper up a bit. And so if any of you have been trying to color on Rita Berman paper with these pens and you've been struggling a bit, I'm there with you, right? I struggled too. You know, I don't know if you can see, this is an older page that I did on some of these pumpkins. Like, that's not the greatest blend in the, sorry, getting a lot of shine from the background. The background, I think that's like, I don't know what I painted on there. It's something very shiny anyway. But, trying to command so you don't get so much of the background glare. There, can you see on that pumpkin? Like, that's not the greatest blend right in there, right? It's kind of, yeah. Or in here, I mean, that's not the greatest either. And I mean, this took a lot of me kind of scribbling and scrubbing. There's what I was looking for. To even, you know, not have an even starker blend than that. So, yeah, I was, again, just taking the fixative out to my garage, having the big garage door open. You know, it's beautiful outside. And I was spraying pages. And one of them I sprayed was that one. And it doesn't affect the laydown of anything afterwards, as far as I can tell. But I was certainly able to get, you know, kind of a much nicer blend with the pens. So that's why I say this is kind of a game changer for me. This is going to allow me to struggle less with papers that just don't want to play nice, you know, with these pens. And I think it's opened up that whole world of Amazon print books that I've been avoiding. I love the artwork. I mean, I love R.J. Hampson. I love Morgan O'Brien's artwork. I love Gabby Wolf's artwork, right? The Mini Mania, all those. I love those. But I was always like, well, I'm going to have to use pencil because I just can't use these. And so, you know, I would do one little small kind of Morgan O'Brien circle and my hand and shoulder would just be aching. So then I would, you know, have to leave that. I couldn't do that anymore. So I'm really thinking that being able to pre-treat pages with the workable fixative, or if I really do need to, I can use, like I say, the Satin Glazing Liquid in the wintertime if I can't spray. But that workable fixative, it's like a happy medium Goldilocks. It puts just enough coating and texture on the page that allows me to work with these pens and get blending on paper, but not so much coating and texture like the workable fixative, or even more so gesso, that I can't, you know, the not so much that the darks aren't staying where they're supposed to stay. So that's just something I wanted to share with you guys. I know it's 50 minutes. It's a lot of me babbling, but well, you guys say you like it. So yeah, I mean, this isn't a fix-all for everyone. Some of you might try this and you just don't like it. That's okay. That's fair. I think a container of this is in the US. I think you can get it from like Dick Blick for like $8.99 or something like that. So it's not a huge expenditure. And I mean, there's a lot of product in here, right? It goes a long way. When I'm spraying out in the garage, I usually sort of spray one layer and then just come back and spray again. And that's it. That's all I do. So you don't have to soak the page. It'll be dry in a minute. If you want to leave it to dry, you know, even a half an hour before you color on it, that might be. But as long as it feels dry, it'll be fine. And because of the solvents, which is what you have to worry about in terms of health, and that's the smell, they evaporate really, really quickly, which is why it dries so quickly. So yeah, this has been a game changer for me. There's another page that I just did, and I won't show you that one, but I did it in an Erie book because, again, I love Erie. I love the artwork, but the Pitt pens just didn't play nicely on that paper. It's a little bit rougher. I know there's tons of colored pencil brands that work wonderfully on there, but I really do. I mean, this allows me to color. It's fast. It gives me a really rich depth of color, and it doesn't hurt my hands and shoulders. So, you know, by being able to use the workable fixative on that Erie page, it gave me that Goldilocks, happy medium ability to blend right on the paper with those pens. And yeah, so I did a Halloween Eerie page, and I'm so happy with how it turned out. So happy. So I wanted to share with you guys my aha moment, which probably, being chemistry teacher, should have come a long time ago, but it didn't. And yeah, just let you know that if you have been trying to color with, because I know I've encouraged people to color with these pens, and there's a learning curve. Even with the spray, there's a learning curve. But if you've been trying to color with them and you're thinking, oh, I don't know what Connie's talking about, I'm struggling to color, it could be because of the paper you're on. And even country to country, paper is different. I've been spraying the workable fixative on, where are these printed? Amazon printed books, printed in Canada. So this is printed in Bolton, Ontario. It might react differently on Amazon print paper from the States. I don't know. Maybe differently UK, European. I don't know. You would just have to try. But yeah, I've got the English version of Daydreams. Maybe it would have acted differently on the Swedish version of Daydreams or the Dutch version of Daydreams. I don't know. It's, there's a lot of variables out there. But if you want to give it a try, like I say, it's not terribly expensive. Make sure that you are in a well-ventilated area. Do not be in your tiny little, if you have a little, spare bedroom for an art studio, don't have all the windows closed and be spraying this. Don't do that. For sure, open up some windows, maybe put a fan in the window, and after you've sprayed it, leave the room for a while, come back in a little bit. Like I say, I'm lucky. I have a garage outside where I can go, have the big door open, and I can spray. And then even then, I spray, I walk out of the garage, I take some good deep breaths. You can put a mask on if you want, like just an N95 mask. I don't think you need a respirator if you're using it in a well-ventilated area. The N95 mask would just, if you're worried about any of the cellulose nitrate getting into your lungs, I don't think you would have to. It's a fairly heavy compound, so when you're spraying this, the stuff that sort of goes up in the air is not the plasticizer. The plasticizers tend to fall onto the page. The stuff that's up in the air that you can smell, that's all the solvents. That's going to come through the mask. The solvents are going to go through the mask whether you want them to or not. But yeah, give it a try. See if it makes a difference for you. Like I say, for me, this has opened up a whole new world of pages and paper types where I could be using my beloved pigment-based pens. All right, I think that's probably enough rambling for today. I hope everyone is safe. I hope everyone is well. I hope everyone has had a lovely October. I certainly have been enjoying some of the beautiful weather out here. If you like what you're seeing on my channel, consider subscribing, hitting the like button. If you don't like what you're seeing on my channel, maybe send me a message. Constructive criticism. If you just give a thumbs down, and I might say this for other YouTubers as well, we don't know why. We don't know what we've done wrong or how we can make it better. So, you certainly, it's totally up to everyone out there. You can thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever you like. But if there is something that you're not liking, whether it be on my channel or somebody else's channel, let us know in a nice, kind way. You can message us. You can put it in a comment if it's kind and it's nice. But yeah, it just helps us to get better. Whereas just a thumbs down, you can't learn from that, right? You can leave a comment. Let friends know that you found a channel, if you do like it, that you like, and they might like it too. Until next time, folks, take care. Bye-bye.